Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into something pretty cool, how to get better results when you're talking to AI like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude. We're talking about prompt engineering. Think of it as the secret sauce for crafting your requests, your prompts, to get the AI to give you exactly what you need. Honestly, it's kind of the key to really making these super smart tools work for you.
And you know what's awesome? You really don't need to be some tech wizard or have a PhD in computer science to do this. This quote nails it. Everyone can write a prompt. It really just boils down to communicating clearly with the AI. So guess what? If you've ever typed a question into one of these tools or told it to do something, well, you've already started prompt engineering. See? Accessible.
All right, so here's the plan for today. We'll kick things off by defining what prompt engineering actually is. Then we'll look at how you can tweak the AI's output using settings. After that, we'll dive into some must-know techniques, both basic and a bit more advanced for reasoning. We'll cover some solid best practices, and then wrap up by talking about really getting good at this. Sound good? Let's jump in.
Okay, Section 1. What is prompt engineering? Let's get a clear definition down. So at its core, prompt engineering is all about designing really good inputs, those prompts we talked about, to steer a large language model, or LLM, towards the specific output you're aiming for. You can think of these LLMs like super sophisticated prediction machines, right? They look at the text you give them and predict what text or token should come next, based on literally mountains of data they've been trained on. Prompt engineering? That's how we shape that initial text, that starting point, to guide those predictions in the right direction. And here's the thing. It's usually not a one-and-done kind of deal. Getting it right often involves a bit of back and forth. It's an iterative process. You'll probably find yourself playing around, tweaking the wording, maybe adding more context, or fiddling with the settings until, bam, you get that accurate, relevant result you were looking for. Now, you might be thinking, why go through all that trouble? Why all the tinkering? Well, because doing it well makes a huge difference. Good prompt engineering directly leads to more accurate and relevant answers from the AI. It lets you reliably point the LMM towards specific jobs, like, say, summarizing a long article, figuring out if customer feedback is positive or negative, whipping up some code, translating languages, or answering really specific questions. It genuinely helps you tap into the real power packed inside these models. And don't forget, what you get out depends on a few things working together. Which LLM you pick, how you set it up, we'll get to that. And, super importantly, the exact words you use, the style, the structure, and the context you provide in your prompt. If you're vague, well, you're probably going to get vague, unhelpful, maybe even flat-out wrong answers back. Specificity is key. All right, Section 2. Tuning your LLM output. So besides just the words in your prompt, you often get these extra controls, configuration settings. Think of them like dials you can twist to fine-tune how the AI behaves. Okay, let's look at some of the main dials you'll run into. First, output length. Pretty straightforward. This just limits how much stuff, how many tokens, think words or parts of words, the model spits out. This can affect how much it costs and how fast you get the answer. Then there's temperature. This one's a biggie. It controls how random or creative the output gets. We'll talk more about this in a sec. Top K and top P are other ways to control the randomness. Basically, they narrow down which possible next words the AI even considers. Top K limits it to the top K most likely words, while top P uses a probability cutoff. Getting a handle on these really helps you shape how predictable or inventive the AI's responses are. Let's dive deeper into temperature because it really sets the vibe. Is the AI going to be straight-laced or more free-spirited? If you set the temperature low, like really close to 0, maybe 0.1 or 0.2, the model gets very predictable, very deterministic. It pretty much always picks the most obvious next word. This gives you focused, consistent answers, perfect if you need facts, data extraction, or something standard. But if you crank that temperature up, say towards 0.7, 0.8, or even 1.0, you're dialing up the randomness. The model might pick less common words, leading to more diverse, creative, sometimes unexpected results. This can be fantastic for brainstorming ideas or generating different writing styles. Just a heads up, though. Push it too high and things can get a bit weird, maybe repetitive or just nonsensical. It's a balancing act. So where's a good place to start with this temperature dial? Well, the source material suggests that somewhere around point 2 is often a pretty solid starting point if you're aiming for answers that are coherent, stick to the facts, and aren't too, out there. But seriously, the key thing here is experimentation. The perfect setting totally depends on what you're trying to do. Need something super creative? Maybe try nudging it up towards point 9. Need absolute precision, like for a math problem where there's only one right answer? You'll probably want to start right down at point.
Moving on to Section 3, Essential Prompt Techniques. Now that we've got the basics and the tuning dials covered, let's look at some fundamental ways to actually structure your prompts for better results. These are like the building blocks.
Okay, the simplest way to prompt is what's called zero shot. You just tell the AI what to do and give it the input. That's it. You're basically counting on its built-in training. Like, classify this movie review as positive or negative. Review text. Simple, right? But sometimes zero shot doesn't quite cut it, especially if you need a very specific kind of answer or format. That's where few shot prompting comes in, and it's super powerful. With few shot, you actually include one, that's called one shot, or maybe a few examples right in the prompt itself. These examples show the model exactly what you want, the kind of task, the input style, and crucially, the output format you're after. It's like giving the model a mini lesson, helping it see the pattern. This makes a huge difference for more complex tasks or when you need structured output.
Check out this pizza order example. It really shows how few shot works. See how we give the LLM 2 clear examples first? Example 1, small pizza with cheese leads to small pizza with cheese leads to size small. Example 2, large pizza with basil leads to size large. We're literally showing it how to pull out the size and toppings and put them into this nice structured JSON format. Then we give it the real task, this trickier order for a large pizza but half and half toppings. Because the model saw the pattern in the examples, it's way more likely to figure out this new complex order and structure it correctly in JSON, even understanding that half-half thing. There's no magic number, but often giving maybe 3 to 5 good examples is a great place to start for many kinds of tasks.
Here's another really useful technique, role prompting. This is where you explicitly tell the LLM to act like someone or something specific. You might say, act as an expert travel agent, or you are a senior software engineer reviewing code, or maybe respond as a friendly and patient tutor. Giving the AI a role like this, it works wonders for shaping its tone, the kind of words it uses, its overall style, and even what knowledge it focuses on. It makes the responses feel much more consistent and right for the situation. It's like giving the AI stage directions for its character. And here's a perfect example of a role prompt taken right from the source material. See how clear it is? I want you to act as a travel guide. Boom, role established. Then it sets the expectation. I'll tell you my location and you suggest 3 places nearby. Super clear. You could even add more layers, right? Like suggest these places in an upbeat, enthusiastic tone, guiding the style even further. It really helps focus the AI. Okay, Section 4, Advanced Reasoning Prompts. Let's kick things up a notch. We're moving beyond just giving instructions and looking at techniques that actually nudge the AI towards more complex reasoning, basically getting it to show its work or think things through step by step. So chain of thought prompting, or COT, is a really neat idea. Instead of just asking for the final answer to, say, a math problem or a logic puzzle, you encourage the LLM to actually write out its thinking process first, those intermediate steps it takes to get to the solution. And often, all it takes is adding a simple phrase like, let's think step by step, to your prompt. Why do this? Well, it turns out this significantly helps the AI perform better. On tasks that need logic, math, or multiple steps, places where LLMs can sometimes trip up if they just try to jump straight to the answer. It makes the whole process transparent and often leads to more accurate results, because it's less likely to make a simple mistake along the way. So conceptually, chain of thought goes something like this. First, you give it the problem. Let's say it's one of those word problems about people's ages, like in the source material. Then, step 2, you explicitly tell it to break it down. Let's think step by step. Step 3, the LLM actually generates those reasoning steps, like, okay, first person is X years old, second is Y, the difference is Z, after N years, and so on. Finally, step 4, it gives you the final answer, based on those steps it just laid out. Breaking it down like this often helps it catch potential errors in logic or calculation. And you know what can make this even stronger? Combining it with few-shot prompting, where your examples also show that step-by-step thinking process. Now, taking this idea of reasoning even further is something called the REACT framework. REACT stands for Reason and Act. It's pretty clever because it lets the LLM not just think internally, but also interact with the outside world using tools. Maybe run a web search, use a calculator, or call an API. It works in this kind of loop. First, the LLM thinks about what it needs to know or do, reason. Then, it decides to use a tool, act. Maybe it needs current info, so it decides to search the web. It performs that action, gets the result back, say the search results, and then it observes that new information. Based on what it observed, it goes back to thinking, refining its plan, and maybe deciding on the next action. This whole think, act, observe cycle is incredibly powerful for solving problems that need current information the LLM wasn't trained on, or problems that require specific actions in the real world. It's a really key idea behind building more capable AI agents. All right, Section 5, Prompting Best Practices. We've covered the what, the how, and some specific techniques. Now let's pull together some key tips. Practical advice based on the source material to help you write better prompts more consistently. Think of these as your go-to guidelines.
Okay, first things first, provide examples. We talked about few-shot prompting. Seriously, showing the model exactly what you want is often the clearest way to get it. Second, design with simplicity. Keep your prompts clear and to the point. Avoid jargon or super complicated sentences. Basically, if you struggle to understand your own prompt, the AI probably will too. Keep it simple. Third, be specific. Don't be vague. Clearly tell the AI the format you want, like JSON or bullet points, how long the answer should be, under 50 words, 1 paragraph, and the style. Use a formal tone, explain it like I'm 10. Next, use instructions over constraints. Try to tell the model what to do, like summarize the main arguments, instead of just listing things not to do, like don't talk about the history. Positive instructions generally work better. And finally, control max tokens. Keep an eye on the length of the response, either using those configuration settings like max tokens, or just asking directly in the prompt, like, give me a 2-sentence explanation. Let's keep going with best practices. Experiment. This one is huge. Don't be afraid to try things out. Ask the question differently, structure the prompt in a new way, try different writing styles, play with those settings like temperature. You'll learn a ton just by experimenting. Also, consider the output format, especially for trying to pull out data or classify things. Asking for a structured format like JSON can be a game changer. It forces the output to be consistent and can actually help stop the model from just making stuff up or hallucinating. Super important, document your attempts. Keep notes. Write down the prompt you used, the settings, what result you got. We'll look at a template for this next, but seriously, tracking your experiments is key to getting better, which leads to iterate and refine. Remember, prompt engineering is a process. Use your notes, see what worked, what didn't, and keep tweaking and improving your prompts. And lastly, adapt to model updates. These AI models are always getting updated. When a new version comes out, be ready to revisit your favorite prompts because the model's behavior might have changed slightly and you might need to adjust them.
Seriously, documenting your prompt experiments is how you really level up. Using even a simple template like this makes a world of difference. You want to track things like, what was the goal of this prompt? Which specific model and config settings did I use? You need this to get the same result again. What was the exact prompt text? What output did I actually get? And then some kind of quick evaluation. Was it good, okay, bad, not okay, kind of hit or miss, sometimes okay? Keeping records like this is gold. It helps you figure out why things work, makes it easier to fix prompts that aren't working, and lets you build on your successes instead of reinventing the wheel every single time. Okay, Section 6, Mastering the Prompt Craft. We've covered a lot. Definitions, settings, techniques, tips. Let's bring it all home. So if there's one big thing to take away from all this, it's this. Prompt engineering isn't about finding some secret perfect sentence. It's really a craft, something you get better at through practice. It's iterative. You try something, see what happens, learn from it, and try again, refining as you go. The effort you put into crafting a clear, specific, well-thought-out prompt directly impacts how good the AI's response is. Simple as that. By understanding these ideas, these techniques, and sticking to these best practices, you really do get the power to steer these amazing AI models much more effectively. So the real question isn't just how to prompt, but what are you going to do with it?
What cool, useful, or maybe even world-changing things will you guide an AI to create next? Thanks for tuning in to The Explainer.